Yo, how's it going everybody? My name is Brawneteer, and welcome to this video. I know I haven't done anything in a while, but, we're coming back with this. I wanted to talk about this since, Jagex just put this out, and it's an update for RuneScape. This is the Wilderness Reborn, and the Daughter of Chaos. We have official news on what is happening with the Wilderness, and I'm going to just read through this and provide my thoughts. Wilderness Reborn and Daughter of Chaos. The Wilderness Reborn. A classic location is reborn, and all the rules have changed. How will you fare in the all-new Wilderness? From August 1st, which is not very far away, that is literally in 3 days. From August 1st, step into a transformed version of Gillinor's most nail-biting destination with a new PvM gameplay focus and glorious benefits for anyone training Slayer. We've also refreshed the area with brand new visuals, but don't get too cozy. The Wilderness remains as dangerous as ever thanks to new enemies and hazards, plus a threat-based PvM system where big risks result in bigger rewards. To celebrate the changes, our Legacy of Zamorak season kicks off in earnest with a new quest that takes you deep into this legendary location. Daughter of Chaos follows Moya in a new era for Gillinor, spoilers, in which the citizens of the world are now responsible for their own future following the banishment of the gods. Let's take a look at everything launching on August 1st. So, new quest, Daughter of Chaos. If you felt a little left behind with the multi-year Elder God Wars story, this is a great quest to jump on board, especially given its nice and accessible level requirements. Set in the newly updated Wilderness amidst the outbreak of a Zamorakian civil war, Daughter of Chaos also yields some fantastic Wilderness handy rewards, more on those below. First, though, you'll have to track down Moya, Daughter of Lucian, and take on a unique gameplay experience for RuneScape. By viewing her memories, you get to fight in the Civil War as Moya. This particular bit is very similar to the dungeoneering stories that you can participate in by talking to Skaldrin at Daemonheim, after you found him, of course. Requirements for Daughter of Chaos are as follows: 40 Archaeology, 40 Divination. Very low requirements, very easily acquired. And here are the rewards. An upgrade for the Infernal Box, 10% damage reduction and 5% increased damage dealt to monsters in the Wilderness, PvM, and also increases the resistance to Infernus environmental damage to 45%. So right now, this is just referring to the damage that happens in the Zamorak boss fight. I wonder if they're going to be adding another area, like an actual Infernus area where you take damage over time, and the box would help. I don't know, though. 30,000 XP lamps for Divination and Archaeology. Cultist Dagger and Mace cosmetic overrides. To start your adventure, speak to Adrustea in the Falador Castle throne room. So, new quest, new rewards, always nice. Graphical and gameplay updates. The Wilderness is transforming from a PvP warzone to a high-risk, high-reward PvM area. Our goal is for the Wilderness to be the most rewarding way to train Slayer, with the best enemy density and rewards from the skill. Don't worry though, we're extremely keen to retain that sense of dread we know you love. The Wilderness ain't getting any friendlier. New dangers. Following the conclusion of your battle with Zamorak, the Wilderness has become an increasingly dangerous place. Remember that feeling of seeing a PKer come into your vicinity? The PvPers may be gone, but the Wilderness will still command your attention. Enemies are becoming even tougher, and they're able to attack you together in multi-way combat. Demons now prowl the area too. Ghastly remnants of Zamorak's invasion. So is the demonic invasion thing? Has that been over? And I just haven't been paying attention. I don't know. If all that wasn't enough, the Wilderness Volcano now spews deadly projectiles that are magically drawn towards you. If you don't pay attention and pray against the type of damage the projectile delivers, it'll take a chunk out of your health. I wonder if you could resonance and block and or heal the damage that it throws at you. That'd be an interesting thing to test. Talking of random events, you may at any time given, I can't speak. You may at any given time find yourself ambushed by enemies. These nasties spawn right on top of you and go straight on the attack, so don't think about AFKing, or you might be paying death a visit. These are just the basic dangers of the Wilderness. Of course, things really escalate with the threat system. Let's get into it. The threat system. Our new design for the Wilderness is all about risk and reward. As you spend more time in the Wilderness by completing activities or Slayer tasks, your threat level will rise. As your threat level rises, your risk of death increases because you will deal more damage and take more damage, Ambushes will occur more often with larger groups of enemies and more difficult monsters, and the volcano will hit you harder and more often. You can easily reset your threat level by dying, teleporting, or hopping over the wilderness wall, but you'll be throwing away your streak bonuses. Is it worth it? It depends on how quickly things ramp up with the threat level system, but we'll just have to see on Monday. Slayer, risks versus rewards. With the new focus on risk-reward, Slayer in the Wilderness will be the best way to train the skill, provided you can handle the dangers it brings, of course. Completing Wilderness Slayer tasks awards 15 Slayer points plus your threat level at any time at the time of completion. At your 10th task milestone, both your 15 Slayer points and threat level get a 5 times multiplier, and at 10 times and your 50th task milestone. Doing it the hard way will therefore really rack up those points. Uniquely to this area, you can also now earn Reaper points through Slayer, and completing Slayer tasks in the Wilderness without dying, killing outside of the Wilderness, or skipping a task will award 1 Reaper point. So, this is basically just an additional way to get Reaper points. And I can see Hydrix's dropping a little bit because of it, because it'll be a little easier to acquire Hydrix's, because previously, we only had 1 Reaper task per day without Reaper refreshes or buying them with Slayer points. But now we can get, as many Reaper points as you can farm in a day. Additionally, Slayer mobs can be found in their greatest density in the Wilderness, and killing them here also grants you access to the Wilderness drop table, which we'll get a look at below. Completing Wilderness Slayer tasks will earn you a Wilderness Slayer chest, containing anything from threat level reductions to death touch darts and Slayer bounty weapons like Annihilation. The full drop table can be found at the bottom of this article, so that is going to be interesting. You can get the level 87 weapons from just doing Wilderness Slayer, along with death touch darts, although I imagine those would be insanely rare. So what's the deal with PvP? Opt-in PvP. So what's the deal with PvP? Well, it can still be enabled. Simply talk to Vala at the border of the Wilderness to get started. Doing this will mark you with the iconic PvP skull and allow you to attack any other skulled players. There are no positive or negative bonuses to your experience when marked with a skull. The new threat system, ambushes, and so on will still apply. So this bit is something I have a problem with. They said that there's no incentive. There's no positive or negative bonuses to your experience when marked with a skull. Except for the fact that if you are marked with a skull, you can now be attacked by any other dickhead that has marked themselves with a skull. And there's no incentive to mark yourself with a skull. We'll get into that in a minute. New look, since we're on a refreshing tip, we knew it was also time to bring the Wilderness up to RuneScape's modern visual standards. It's a large part of the surface world, and we wanted the existing routes to remain untouched and implement like-for-like updates wherever possible. It also had to remain an intrinsically hostile environment, with your sense of danger ever increasing as you delve deeper into the wild. So we have the, if you want to, I'm not going to open these up, but you can see these as I'm scrolling past them. Bunch of different stuff, lightning strikes, flares, shit like that. Thanks to our new visual effects system, we have now been able to add shadow casting from point lights and particles, giving the place a sense of depth and excitement. And we've made the volcano and crater more imposing landmarks too. Visit the Wilderness on August 1st and you'll see a coherent visual style across all areas and an enhanced sense of dread. So we have all these different areas in the Wilderness. More to come. Future content updates in the Legacy of Zamorak storyline will add even more gameplay experiences to the Wilderness. Stay tuned to find out more about those as the story continues. Bonus, extra information on the Wilderness gameplay changes. And there are a couple of things in here that I am not a fan of. And it kind of relates to what I was talking about earlier, about being marked with the skull and being able to attack people. So, for those of you looking to understand the Wilderness gameplay changes in more detail, here's some more tweaks to look out for. Mandrith has been moved deeper into the Wilderness. As before, he does not respect or block preferred task lists for Slayer. Wandering demons and monster ambushes do not have drops and do not count for Slayer tasks. The demonic skull and brawlers remain unchanged, and the demonic skull will opt you into PvP. This is one that I have an issue with, because this whole thing that Jagex was advertising this rework for is that PvP will be optional. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Movement abilities will now be allowed in the wilderness. So I'm assuming, because right now in the wilderness, if you go into the wilderness and you surge, or you bladed dive, or escape, or whatever, right? If you have double surge, and you use one surge in the wilderness, both of them go on cooldown immediately. Likewise, if you surge and you have bladed dive goes on cooldown, despite the fact that, they usually don't. It usually doesn't. So I'm assuming that's what this means, is, if you surge, you'll be able to surge twice, you'll be able to bladed dive, and yeah. The Deathmatch reward shop will remain the same and can still be accessed from Mandrith's old location. Slayer bounty reward shop items have now been moved to the Wilderness Slayer drop table. So that's the tier 87 weapons and I think some other stuff. No dungeons or skilling locations in the wilderness have been changed. Ambushes and volcano hits will still be a threat while skilling. No dungeon. So I think the 4 and 3 dungeon, I think, is what that's referring to. Warbands remains a PvP activity and has not been changed. If you get any resources from Warbands, you will still be marked with a PvP skull, so be careful. This one, again, this is one that I also kind of have an issue with. We'll talk about that in a minute. Similarly, Divination Cursed Wisp will also mark you with a PvP skull. Again, lump this in with the other two things. Wilderness Slayer drop table. One chest is given at the end of each Slayer task. It will be stackable, allowing players to hoard them before opening in one go, which should be fun to watch on live streams. Here's what you can get. Ancient Warriors Equipment Patch. Can be used to upgrade Ancient Warriors equipment to tier 88 and make them augmentable. Annihilation. Augmentable tier 87 two-handed melee weapon with a powerful special attack. All types of Brawler's Gloves. Death Touch Darts. The Decimation. Augmentable tier 87 two-handed ranged weapon with powerful special attack. Dragon Trinkets, Lucky Charms for Dragonkin Laboratory, and Lucky Charms for ED4. Metallic Dragon Trinkets, Necronium Salvage. This is the first time we've seen Necronium Salvage, and I'm a little concerned. Obliteration, Augmentable Tier 87 two-handed magic weapon with a powerful special attack. You get the story. Reaper Scrolls, which you can exchange for a new Reaper task. This will let you take on multiple Reaper tasks during a day without having to buy them with Slayer points. Threat level decrease, reduces your threat level by 1 on consumption. Threat level reset, resets your threat level to 1 on consumption. Volcanic Protection, wieldable item that reduces damage from volcanic projectiles. And the Wilderness Hilt, used to upgrade a Dragon Claw, Dagger, Longsword, Mace, or Scimitar, or their offhand variants to tier 70. The Wilderness gameplay and graphical update and the new quest Daughter of Chaos both launch August 1st, 2022. See you in the wilderness. Okay, let's talk about my thoughts, because like I said, I have some issues, and it all relates to the PvP stuff. Namely, the Demonic Skull. And I already dislike the Demonic Skull as it is right now. And the reason for that is because of runecrafting. In order to get the best experience in the game for runecrafting, you have to use the Demonic Skull, and you have to go through the Abyss. Which means you are subjecting yourself to PKers. Which, they can practically one-shot you because you don't have combat equipment. The Demonic Skull is an item that people use when they are skilling. And it is, I think they should have changed the Demonic Skull and removed the whole PvP thing along with where are they? The Wisps. The Divination Cursed Wisps. The Demonic Skull, I think what they should have done is they should have made it so that if you enter the wilderness with the Demonic Skull, you start with an increased threat level. Or you gain threat at an exponential rate. Like, just for example, doing over the course of a Slayer task, you go from threat level 1 to threat level 3, right? I don't know the numbers, that's just an example. With the Demonic Skull, if you had the Demonic Skull equipped, you would gain more Slayer XP, and you would instead go from threat level 1 to, threat level 8. You would gain a lot of threat, and it would be a lot more dangerous to use the Demonic Skull. Similarly, let's say if you're doing Wilderness Agility course, one lap, gives you half of a threat level. The second lap gives you a half of a threat level, so you have level 2 threat now. If you're to use the Demonic Skull, one lap would give you 2 threat levels. and it would become exponentially more dangerous the longer you were in the wilderness with the demonic skull. Or, like I said, you just enter the wilderness and you have an increased threat level from the get-go. And you would keep the same effects. Because this whole thing, like I said, this whole thing about Jagex with their advertising for this is that PvP would become optional. To get the best rune crafting experience in the game, you have to opt into this. Like, this is not optional. This is mandatory. And I don't like it. Now, some of you might be watching this and be like, oh, he's just bitching about the PvP. Bitch, if I wanted to complain about PvP, then I would complain about PvP. But I'm complaining about them saying that this is supposed to be optional when it really isn't. The same goes for Cursed Wisps. People do Cursed Wisps to get energies to make divine charges with. If you kill someone who, like right now, if you kill someone who has cursed energy, then you get that cursed energy, and you're not adding or taking anything away from the game. So, what's the point? Like, I don't get it. Someone still has to put in the time to get the cursed energy. And the fact that if you want to do this and be have it be the most efficient way possible, you have to subject yourself to PvP. And that's what I don't like. Warbands, maybe not so much. If it wasn't for the fact that there's a tier 70 wand that you can get from warbands, I probably wouldn't care as much. But again, it's XP, which, I guess, because I'm also trying to look at this from the perspective of an Iron Man or a hardcore Iron Man, right? Because Iron Man can't participate in warbands. So, for a normal account, to get decent XP for something, you would have to subject yourself to PvP. And that's what I don't like. Now, how would I fix it? Again, let's go back, let's use the threat level system. Jagex introduced a threat level system with this. They're introducing a threat level system with this update. Demonic Skull will just give you increased threat or start you off with increased threat. Cursed Wisps give you increased threat while you're gathering them. It would be exponentially more just from doing Cursed Wisps. If you want to make PvP optional, right? If you want to make PvP entirely optional, then make it optional. Make it something that is a distraction. Make it something that is like, you know what? I feel like going in PvP. If anyone else is out there that wants to PvP. Don't tie this in to things that people are already doing where it's not avoidable, where it's not optional. That's what I'm complaining about. But, let's move on to a couple positive things. So they said that the dungeons, I think they said dungeon. When they said that, I assumed the 4 and 3 dungeon. This would mean that people will be able to farm Revenants without needing to worry about getting PK'd. Great. That means, Statius Warhammer will be, hopefully we'll be seeing more Statius Warhammer drops. I think Revenants are also a Slayer task that can be assigned by Mandrith, so you could just get a task for one of them and then go ham. But yeah, hopefully they'll see some of the Ancient Warriors equipment, so the Statius Warhammer, the Vesta's Spear, Zuriel's stuff. All that equipment will hopefully drop a little bit. Statius Warhammer in particular, because I think that thing's like 300 mil right now. Let's see. PC SWH 210. Okay, it's dropped a little bit from when because I know when the Essence of Finality came out, the thing spiked to like 600 mil. So Revenants being safer to farm, I see that as a good thing. More accessibility to acquiring the tier 87 weapons, good thing. Death Touch darts, maybe not so much. I still think these should be a little bit more rare, but, it is what it is. The Reaper Scrolls, being able to do more Reaper tasks per day, again, I see that as being a good thing. You get more Slayer experience, and you get more Reaper points to be able to buy upgrades and Hydrixes with, so yay, more stuff coming into the game. which means they're not as rare. So, overall impressions about this news. It's a mixed bag, personally. I think it's a mixed bag. There's obviously some good things in here. There's some things that I think are really annoying. Like I've mentioned 15 times now, the demonic skull is, opting you into PvP. I don't like that. I think they need to change the demonic skull to just be tied in with the threat level system and not opt you into PvP if you are going to be getting, because they've said, this is what they said. There are no positive or negative bonuses to your experience when marked with a skull. Well, congratulations, you have the demonic skull, which gives you bonus XP for rune crafting and a wilderness agility course and charming moths and all that other stuff. You have a bonus. You have an incentive to use the demonic skull, which opts you into PvP. So they are straight up contradicting themselves, and I don't like that. We'll just have to see what it is when it comes on Monday, though. Until then, I guess just look forward to the rewards. The, tier 87 stuff. I know I'm going to. Maybe do some Slayer tasks on my hardcore. Hey, maybe get one of these. So, anyways, have a good one.